The day Earth changed forever started like any other. Blue skies stretched over New York, rain fell in London, and the sun set over Tokyo. But at 3:47 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, every astronomical observatory on the planet detected something impossible. Thousands of objects dropping out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. Admiral James Miller stood in the Pentagon's command center, watching as screens display the incoming fleet. His weathered face remained calm despite the chaos erupting around him. 30 years in the Navy had taught him to keep his composure, but nothing had prepared him for this. "Sir, we're counting over 3,000 vessels. Smallest one is the size of an aircraft carrier." The largest. The young lieutenant paused, double-checking his readings. "The largest is roughly the size of Manhattan." The room fell silent. Numbers and data streamed across the monitors as Earth's military satellites focused on the approaching armada. The ships moved with impossible precision, arranging themselves in a formation that spoke of centuries of military tradition. "General broadcast incoming," another officer announced. "They're transmitting on all frequencies." The main screen flickered to life. The being that appeared looked almost human. If humans had metallic blue skin and eyes that glowed like distant stars, its uniform sparkled with decorations that caught the light in ways that hurt the eyes. "People of Earth," the alien spoke in perfect English, its voice simultaneously translated into every major language on Earth through all broadcasting channels. "I am High Commander Robert of the Galactic Empire. Your world has been chosen for integration into our magnificent civilization. Resistance is unnecessary. Submit, and you shall be elevated to heights your species can barely imagine." President Thompson, watching from the White House Situation Room, clenched his fists. Within minutes, he was on a secure line with other world leaders. The Chinese president, the Russian premier, and leaders from every major nation joined the emergency conference. "They're positioning satellites around our planet," reported the Indian Space Research Organization. "Advanced technology. They're mapping everything." In orbit, the International Space Station's crew watched as sleek Imperial scouts zipped past their windows, the alien vessels making their dated space station look like a child's toy. Commander Kate Wilson photographed everything she could, transmitting data back to Earth until the station's communications mysteriously went dark. Hours passed. The Imperial fleet maintained its position, a sword of Damocles hanging over humanity's head. Emergency services worldwide dealt with panic and riots. Religious leaders called for calm. Scientists worked frantically to understand the alien technology that made their most advanced instruments seem primitive. In his underground bunker, Admiral Miller received reports from military bases worldwide. Russian submarines maintained silent running in the Arctic. Chinese fighter jets stood ready on their runways. American missile silos waited for codes they hoped they'd never have to use. "Sir," his aide interrupted his thoughts. "The Security Council is meeting in 1 hour. They're requesting your presence." The United Nations building in New York had never seen such security. As world leaders gathered, Imperial scouts hovering visible in the sky above, humanity faced its greatest challenge. Would they submit to becoming just another conquered race in a vast empire, or was there another way? Admiral Miller knew something the aliens didn't. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility that didn't officially exist, humanity had its own secrets. He thought about the project, hidden for decades, waiting for a moment like this. As he walked into the Security Council chamber, he carried with him humanity's greatest secret, and perhaps its only hope. High Commander Robert watched the primitive planet from his flagship, remembering hundreds of similar conquests. These humans would resist at first. They all did. But faced with technology millennia ahead of their own, they would soon accept their place in the empire. His reports showed their most advanced weapons were primitive nuclear devices and chemical rockets. Their artificial satellites were crude. Their civilization was divided into nation-states still fighting among themselves. How wrong he was. How terribly, catastrophically wrong. In the coming days, the mighty Galactic Empire would learn why humans had survived countless extinction events, why they had risen from caves to touch the stars in a mere blink of cosmic time. They would learn that appearances could be deceiving, and that sometimes the most dangerous predator was the one that appeared harmless. But for now, the pieces moved into place, and the greatest confrontation in human history was about to begin. Imperial scout ships descended through Earth's atmosphere like silver arrows, their advanced stealth systems making them nearly invisible to conventional radar. Captain Mark of the Imperial Assessment Force watched the primitive civilization through his ship's sensors, recording everything for the Empire's vast database. Another missile installation detected in the region they call Montana, his sensor officer reported. Nuclear warheads. Primitive fusion devices. Mark nodded, adding the information to his growing list of Earth's military capabilities. The humans had scattered their weapons across their planet, hiding them in underground silos, beneath the oceans, and in mobile launchers. It was almost cute, like watching children playing at war. Their aircraft are approaching again, the tactical officer announced. 2 human fighters, designated F-35s in their primitive classification system, circled nearby. They couldn't see the Imperial scout ship, of course, but their pilots seemed to sense something was there. On the ground, at Edwards Air Force Base, Colonel Tom Parker watched radar screens that showed nothing but empty sky. Yet his pilots reported strange atmospheric disturbances, unexplainable readings on their instruments, and brief glimpses of something that shouldn't be there. Delta 2, what do you see up there? Parker asked over the secure channel. Sir, it's like heat waves in the sky, but at 30,000 feet. Our targeting systems keep glitching. Something's out there. In orbit, High Commander Robert received the first assessment reports. Earth's military technology was roughly at level 3 on the Imperial scale, barely past the atomic age. Their most advanced computers used primitive silicon chips. Their space program couldn't even reach their own moon anymore. But something bothered him about the reports. Small inconsistencies that nagged at his centuries of experience. Why do they maintain such large military forces? He asked his strategic advisor. Their nations still fight among themselves, yes, but their armed forces seem excessive for internal conflicts. Perhaps they're simply paranoid, Commander. Many primitive species are. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility known only as the Vault, Admiral Miller met with a select group of military and scientific leaders. Dr. Anna Williams, head of Project Guardian, pulled up holographic displays that would have made the Imperial scouts drop their jaws in shock. They're scanning everything, she explained, but they're looking for what they expect to find. Their sensors are calibrated for known energy signatures, known technological patterns. And we don't use any of those, Admiral Miller finished for her. The room's lighting reflected off the strange metal walls made of materials that didn't exist in nature, crafted using principles that defied conventional physics. Back in orbit, Captain Mark's scout ship detected something unusual. A brief energy spike from somewhere in the Pacific Ocean, gone before their sensors could lock onto it. He dispatched a probe to investigate. The probe never returned. Probably malfunctioned, his technical officer suggested. These probes aren't designed for deep ocean pressures. Mark wasn't convinced. In his 1,000 years of service, he'd never lost a probe to simple mechanical failure. But his orders were to assess and report, not to investigate anomalies. In underwater bases across Earth's oceans, humans monitored the Imperial scouts monitoring them. Advanced quantum sensors, reverse-engineered from technology that predated the Empire itself, tracked every movement of the alien ships. They're testing our defenses, Dr. Williams explained to the Joint Chiefs, looking for reactions, trying to gauge our capabilities. But they're about to make a crucial mistake. They're going to underestimate us, Admiral Miller said, because they're seeing exactly what we want them to see. The Imperial assessment continued for 3 days. Scout ships cataloged Earth's visible military assets, analyzed their communications, and mapped their infrastructure. They saw the nuclear missiles, the aircraft carriers, the tanks, and the fighter jets. They documented the primitive satellite network, the basic space stations, and the early warning radar systems. What they didn't see were the quantum communication arrays hidden in plain sight. They missed the gravity manipulation devices disguised as ordinary power plants. And most importantly, they failed to detect the weapons that could tear apart the fabric of space itself. The Empire was about to learn a lesson that countless others had learned throughout history. Never judge a species by its visible technology alone. Sometimes, the most dangerous predators are the ones that choose to hide their teeth. 3 days into the Imperial assessment, Earth delivered its response, not through diplomatic channels, not through military displays, but through a demonstration that would shake the Empire to its core. High Commander Robert was reviewing tactical reports when his flagship's sensors triggered an alert. Something was happening near Pluto, at the edge of the solar system. Energy readings spiked in patterns his computers couldn't recognize. "Commander," his science officer called out, voice trembling. "You need to see this." On the main view screen, space itself seemed to ripple. A small object had appeared near Pluto, a satellite no larger than a car, its design unlike anything in Imperial records. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Pluto vanished. Not exploded, not destroyed. It simply ceased to exist, along with its moons and a sphere of space, nearly 1,000,000 kilometers in diameter. Where the dwarf planet had been, nothing remained but the smooth edge of a perfect sphere of emptiness. "Impossible," Robert whispered. "In 10,000 years of Imperial history, nothing like this had ever been recorded." A transmission reached every Imperial ship simultaneously, bypassing all encryption and security measures. The voice spoke in perfect Imperial standard, though no human should have known the language. This demonstration was performed using less than 1% of Earth's defensive capabilities. "You have 24 hours to withdraw all forces from the solar system. There will be no further warnings." In the Pentagon's deepest levels, Admiral Miller watched the demonstration through quantum-link sensors. Beside him, Dr. Williams monitored the weapon's performance. "Clean execution," she noted. "The dimensional fold worked exactly as calculated. Pluto and its space have been transferred to the designated receiving coordinates. The Empire needs to believe we destroyed it completely," Miller reminded her. "When we restore it later, we'll need a cover story." Across Earth, hidden facilities powered up systems that had lain dormant for decades. Quantum reactors hummed to life, gravity wells deepened, and weapons beyond Imperial understanding stood ready. On his flagship, High Commander Robert faced the first real crisis of his long career. His tactical officers argued for an immediate attack, claiming the demonstration must have been a trick. His scientists insisted that what they'd witnessed was impossible by all known laws of physics. No Level 3 civilization could possess such technology. His senior advisor insisted. "It must be a deception." "Then explain how they did it," Robert demanded. "Explain how they transmitted through our encryptions. Explain how they know our language." In orbit around Earth, Imperial scout ships detected new energy signatures emerging from the planet below. Hidden installations revealed themselves one by one, each broadcasting power levels that matched or exceeded anything in the Imperial fleet. Captain Mark's scout ship barely had time to transmit its readings before quantum fields locked every Imperial vessel in place. They could still operate, still communicate, but they couldn't move from their current positions. "We've contained their fleet," Dr. Williams reported. "Quantum locks are holding steady. Their weapons are neutralized." Admiral Miller nodded, remembering the day they'd first discovered the ruins on Mars. Ancient technology, left by a civilization that had seeded the galaxy long before the Empire existed. Humanity hadn't just studied those ruins. They'd understood them, improved them, and prepared for the day they'd be needed. The Empire had made a crucial mistake. They'd assumed Earth was just another primitive world to be conquered. They hadn't considered that humanity's apparent technological level might be a choice rather than a limitation. In his command chair, High Commander Robert received increasingly panicked reports from his fleet. None of their weapons would fire. Their engines couldn't break free from the quantum locks. And more installations were revealing themselves on the planet below, each one demonstrating capabilities that shouldn't exist. "Send the response," he ordered finally. "Tell them we will withdraw." As Imperial ships retreated from the solar system, humanity watched through sensors the Empire couldn't detect. The message had been delivered. Earth would not be conquered. But Admiral Miller knew this was just the beginning. "They'll be back," he said quietly. "Not to conquer this time. To understand." Dr. Williams smiled. "Then perhaps it's time humanity taught the Empire a few things about true progress." The Imperial Council chamber on the capital world of the Empire buzzed with heated debate. 12 of the most powerful beings in the galaxy argued over holographic displays showing the impossible. The complete disappearance of a planetary body at the hands of what should have been a primitive species. High Commander Robert stood before them, his usual confidence shaken. "The humans possess technology that defies our understanding. Their demonstration with Pluto—" "A trick," interrupted Council Member Dan, his metallic skin flashing with anger. "Some primitive illusion meant to frighten us away." "Then explain this," Robert replied, projecting new data into the chamber center. "Energy readings unlike anything in our database. Transmissions that broke through our best encryption. Quantum fields that immobilized our entire fleet." The chamber fell silent. The Imperial Council had ruled for 10,000 years, encountering thousands of species, but never anything like this. In a secure bunker beneath the surface of their capital world, Imperial scientists studied the data from Earth. None of their theories could explain what they had witnessed. Dr. Lee, the Empire's leading physicist, had spent 3 days trying to understand the energy signatures they detected. "It's as if they're operating on principles we've never conceived of," she explained to her team. "Their technology doesn't follow any known progression of scientific development." Meanwhile, on the Empire's military planning station, generals and admirals argued strategy. Fleet Admiral Jack, a veteran of 100 conquest campaigns, faced growing opposition to his calls for immediate military action. "We cannot allow a Level 3 civilization to possess such power," he thundered. "It threatens the very foundation of Imperial order. And how do you suggest we fight an enemy that can make planets disappear?" asked his rival, Admiral Alice. "An enemy that disabled our entire fleet without firing a shot." Back in the council chamber, the debate had shifted from disbelief to fear. Council Member Ben, oldest among them, raised a point none wanted to consider. If they have such technology, why hide it? Why maintain the appearance of a primitive civilization? The question hung in the air like a sword. The Empire had always judged species by their visible technology, their obvious achievements. The idea that a civilization might deliberately hide its true capabilities was disturbing. In her laboratory, Dr. Lee made a breakthrough that only deepened the mystery. "These energy signatures," she announced to the Emergency Scientific Council, "they're similar to theoretical patterns we discovered in ancient ruins across the galaxy. Ruins that predate the Empire itself." The implication sent shockwaves through Imperial High Command. Had Earth somehow discovered and mastered technology from that long-lost civilization? Had they improved upon it? High Commander Robert received the reports with growing unease. His military instincts told him to crush this threat before it grew stronger. But his experience, earned over centuries, warned him that they didn't understand what they were facing. "They let us scan them," he realized, speaking to his inner circle of advisors. "They let us see exactly what they wanted us to see. Everything we detected was what they chose to reveal." In the Imperial archives, researchers discovered something even more troubling. Ancient records spoke of a world that had been quarantined, marked as too dangerous to approach. The coordinates had been lost ages ago, but the description matched Earth's solar system. Admiral Jack's calls for military action grew louder. "We cannot show weakness. The Empire must maintain order." But others remembered the humans' warning. their casual demonstration of power that surpassed anything in Imperial history. Fleet Admiral Alice gained support for a more cautious approach. "We need to understand them before we even consider confrontation," she argued. "They could have destroyed our fleet." Instead, they gave a warning. Why? In the council chamber, the debate reached its peak. The Empire faced something it had never encountered before, a species that had leapfrogged past their understanding of science itself. High Commander Robert made his final report. "We have three choices: retreat and leave Earth alone, attempt diplomatic contact to understand their capabilities, or risk military action against power we cannot comprehend." The Council's decision would shape the future of the galaxy. But as they debated, Earth watched through sensors beyond Imperial understanding, preparing for whatever choice they would make. Fleet Admiral Jack got his wish. The Empire dispatched a test force of 30 warships, each carrying enough firepower to level a continent. They emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system, their weapons primed and shields at maximum power. "Remember," Jack's voice echoed through the command channel, "we're here to probe their defenses. If they show any weakness, any hesitation, we strike hard." Earth's response was immediate but unexpected. No weapons fired. No threats were made. Instead, a single message reached every Imperial ship. "You were warned. Now observe." In the vault, Admiral Miller watched the Imperial fleet's approach on quantum displays. "They never learn, do they?" he said to Dr. Williams. "Time for demonstration 2." Dr. Williams nodded and activated the defense grid. Across Earth's surface, hidden installations hummed to life. In orbit, satellites that had remained invisible to Imperial scans revealed themselves. The Imperial fleet's sensors suddenly screamed warnings. Space itself seemed to twist around their ships. Captain Bill, commanding the lead destroyer, watched in horror as reality rippled. "Energy spike," his sensor officer shouted. It's everywhere." Quantum fields enveloped each Imperial vessel individually. Their mighty engines, capable of moving ships between stars, couldn't generate enough power to move a single meter. Their weapons, designed to shatter planets, refused to fire. Then came the real demonstration. A small Earth vessel, no larger than a fighter, appeared in the middle of the Imperial formation. Its design was unlike anything they'd seen. Smooth curves that seemed to bend light itself, made of materials their sensors couldn't identify. "This," a calm voice announced on all frequencies, "is one of our training vessels, the kind we use to teach our children about spaceflight." The small ship began to move. It danced between the frozen Imperial warships, its movements defying known physics. Where it passed, Imperial shields simply ceased to exist. Not failed, not overloaded. They simply turned off. In his flagship, Jack watched helplessly as the demonstration continued. The Earth vessel methodically disabled every weapon system on every ship in his fleet. Their most advanced targeting computers went dark. Their backup systems failed to respond. "The Empire prides itself on its military might," the human voice continued. "Let us show you what true power looks like." A sphere of pure darkness appeared near the fleet. Imperial sensors tried to analyze it and failed. Inside the sphere, laws of physics ceased to exist. Light itself couldn't escape. "This," the voice explained, "is what we call a gravity lens. A small one. We could make it large enough to swallow your entire fleet. We choose not to." In the vault, Dr. Williams monitored the demonstration's effects. "They're scanning everything," she reported, "trying to understand how we're doing this." "Let them look," Miller replied. "They won't understand what they're seeing." The Empire's finest warships hung helpless in space, surrounded by technology that made their most advanced science look primitive. Captain Bill tried desperately to restore his ship's systems, but nothing responded. "Your vessels will remain frozen for the next hour," the human voice announced. "During this time, examine your situation. Consider what it means. When control returns, you have a choice. Leave and never return, or face extinction." Fleet Admiral Jack, his pride shattered, watched the Earth vessel disappear as mysteriously as it had appeared. His mighty fleet, meant to test Earth's defenses, had instead become an object lesson in humility. In the Imperial capital, the Council received real-time data from the encounter. The evidence was undeniable. Earth didn't just possess advanced technology. They wielded power that the Empire couldn't even understand. One training vessel, Council member Ben whispered. One small ship disabled our entire attack fleet. An hour later, when control returned to their ships, the Imperial fleet didn't hesitate. They turned and fled at maximum speed, leaving behind their dreams of conquest and their illusions of supremacy. On Earth, Admiral Miller watched them go. Think they got the message this time? Dr. Williams smiled. If not, we have plenty more demonstrations prepared. The Imperial Council demanded answers. After 2 humiliating encounters with Earth, even the most hawkish members realized they faced something unprecedented. High Commander Robert stood before them once again, but this time he brought something unexpected, a human. Admiral Miller had agreed to address the Council directly. He stood in their grand chamber, seemingly unimpressed by its ancient splendor, and began to tell a story that would reshape the Empire's understanding of the galaxy. 50 years ago, Miller began, we discovered something on Mars. Not ruins, as you might expect, but a door. A door made of materials that shouldn't exist. The Council chamber's displays showed images of the discovery. Deep beneath the red planet's surface lay a vast complex, its walls covered in writings that predated Earth's earliest civilizations. We found more facilities, Miller continued, under our oceans, buried in our mountains. Each contained technology beyond anything humanity had dreamed of. But more importantly, they contained knowledge. Dr. Williams, who had accompanied Miller, activated a holographic display showing symbols that made several Council members gasp in recognition. Yes, Miller nodded. You've seen these before. The same writings appear on ruins scattered across the galaxy, ruins your empire has studied for thousands of years without understanding. In the chamber center, a new hologram appeared, a complete star map of the galaxy, with countless points marked in glowing light. These, Dr. Williams explained, are all the facilities left behind by those you call the ancients, the ones who came before your empire, before any civilization you know. You found their ruins. We found their instruction manual. The Council erupted in chaos. Questions flew from all directions. How had humans decoded what the Empire's best minds couldn't? Why had this primitive species succeeded where they had failed? Because, Miller answered simply, we didn't assume we knew everything. Your empire has spent millennia building on its own knowledge, never considering that there might be entirely different paths to understanding the universe. The holographic display shifted, showing the principles behind Earth's seemingly impossible technology. Quantum fields that ignored traditional physics, gravity manipulation that defied imperial science, dimensional engineering that made their faster-than-light travel look primitive. The ancients didn't just leave us technology, Dr. Williams continued. They left us their understanding of the universe itself, different ways of thinking about space, time, and reality. We learned not just to use their tools, but to think as they thought. In the Imperial archives, researchers frantically reviewed ancient records. They found references to Earth, or as the ancients had called it, the cradle, scattered throughout their oldest documents. Your empire built its power through conquest, Miller explained, adding the technology of each species you encountered to your own. But you never questioned your fundamental understanding of how the universe works. The Council chamber was silent now, absorbing the implications. Earth hadn't just mastered advanced technology. They had completely bypassed the Empire's path of technological development. We kept our advancement hidden, Dr. Williams added, because we saw your empire approaching. We watched you conquer world after world, imposing your understanding of science on every species you encountered. We decided to wait, to prepare. High Commander Robert finally understood the true scale of his mistake. He hadn't just underestimated Earth's military capability. He had failed to recognize an entirely different kind of civilization. The ancients chose Earth for a reason, Miller concluded. They saw something in humanity's way of thinking, our ability to adapt and consider new possibilities. They left us their legacy not because we were special, but because we were willing to learn. The Council faced a decision unlike any in imperial history. They had discovered not just a powerful adversary, but a species that had inherited the knowledge of the civilization they had spent millennia trying to understand. So, Miller asked the stunned Council, "Shall we discuss the future of our relationship?" As equals. In orbit above the imperial capital, Earth's small vessel waited. Its mere presence, now understood to be a product of ancient technology, served as a constant reminder of how much the Empire had yet to learn. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted, not through warfare or conquest, but through understanding. 3 months after Earth revealed the truth about the ancients' legacy, the galaxy entered a new era. The Imperial Council Chamber, once a place of absolute authority, now hosted representatives from Earth as equals. Admiral Miller sat at the grand table, watching as the Empire's greatest scholars eagerly discussed quantum physics with Dr. Williams. The hunger for knowledge, once suppressed by imperial pride, had finally broken free. "Your empire can continue to exist," Miller explained to the Council, "but not as conquerors. The time has come for a different approach." High Commander Robert, who had once planned Earth's conquest, now served as the primary liaison between the two civilizations. "We've already begun withdrawing from our most recent acquisitions," he reported. "The transition hasn't been easy, but it's necessary." The Empire's vast fleet, once the symbol of its power, underwent dramatic changes. Earth shared some of its basic technological understanding, enough to demonstrate how far behind imperial science had fallen. "Your ships still work the same way they did 5,000 years ago," Dr. Williams told a group of imperial engineers. "You've made them bigger, more powerful, but the fundamental principles haven't changed. It's time to think differently." In deep space, at a neutral location between Earth and the imperial capital, construction began on the first joint research center. Scientists from both civilizations would work together, sharing knowledge and exploring the universe's mysteries. The ancients didn't intend their knowledge to belong to just one species, Miller explained to the Council. They left facilities across the galaxy hoping that eventually someone would understand all of it. Not just the technology, but the responsibility that comes with it. The Empire's member worlds watched in amazement as their overlords transformed from conquerors to students. Some resisted the change, clinging to the old ways. Others embraced the opportunity, sending their brightest minds to learn alongside humans. "We're not here to replace your empire," Dr. Williams assured the Council. "We're here to help it evolve." The ancients believed in cooperation, in sharing knowledge across species and civilizations. That's the legacy they left us. On Earth, humanity finally revealed its true capabilities to its own population. Hidden facilities emerged from underground bunkers and ocean depths. The public learned about the ancients, about the power humanity had been quietly safeguarding. In orbit around Jupiter, the first joint human-imperial mission began studying one of the ancient facilities that humans had discovered but never fully understood. Together, they unlocked secrets that neither civilization could have comprehended alone. "This is what the ancients wanted," Miller told the Council during their final session. "Different species, different ways of thinking, working together to unlock the universe's mysteries." The Empire's capital world changed. The massive military parade grounds were converted into research centers. The war rooms became laboratories. Ships that once carried weapons now carried scientists and explorers. High Commander Robert, watching Earth's training vessel demonstrate principles his people were just beginning to grasp, smiled. "We thought we were bringing civilization to the galaxy," he said to Miller. "Instead, you taught us what civilization truly means." A year after the first contact, the Galactic Empire signed a historic treaty with Earth. Not a peace treaty. They were well beyond the threat of war. but an agreement of cooperation and mutual growth. The galaxy is vast. Miller addressed the combined Earth Imperial Assembly. The ancients knew that no single species could unlock all its secrets alone. They left their knowledge scattered across the stars, waiting for the day when different civilizations would learn to work together. Dr. Williams, standing beside him, activated one final hologram, a map showing thousands of ancient facilities yet to be explored. "This is our future," she said, "not conquest, not domination, but discovery." Together, the empire that had once sought to conquer Earth now looked to it for guidance, not because Earth was more powerful, but because humans had learned the most important lesson the ancients had left behind. True power comes not from domination, but from understanding. And so began a new chapter in galactic history. The Empire learned to think differently. Earth shared its knowledge responsibly, and across the stars, ancient facilities waited to share their secrets with those wise enough to learn together. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly what the ancients had intended all along.